welcome to a very, very happy bunch of people. I'm the first of the bunch. Gadsby here. England are not only up and running, they're up and sprinting. That was a fabulous performance yesterday. Of course, England won, Croatia 0. England have won the first game at European Championships ever, and won the first game at Wembley of an open of a major tournament ever. Of course, Uruguay in 1966 was 0-0, and Switzerland in 1996 was 1-1. Everybody in a very celebratory mood. The consensus is that England had an excellent performance. The only thing missing, but this was obviously the World Cup finalists, so we need to put it in perspective. And yeah, I'm so happy to say let's get first of all the Goldster in here. He is ready to come in, and then we have who else would it be but the Golding, Mr. Keith Golding. So let's get them in to join us. Are you there, Goldster? He is there. How are you? How are you feeling?
Fine.
In a happy mood?
I'm feeling good.
Good journey
I'm
back
feeling
up?
even happy. Yeah, the journey was good. I'm feeling even happier after that Scotland result.
Yeah. Well, let's get the Goldster in, the Golding in, I should say, to talk about that as well. So we have now our second. Keith, are you there? Let's see. Hopefully. There he is. Hello, mate.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
We were just talking about
Right.
you. We were just talking about you.
You were you?
Yeah, and now we'll be nice.
What, the good-looking 60-year-old.
There's no 60-year-old there. Look, mate, most people don't pretend to be double their age. How are you? How are you feeling? Just been talking to Nick, and how are you feeling today? A very happy man, I'd expect.
Oh yeah, of course. Being the first group win in how long? 25 years.
No, we won
in Euro.
Oh no, never in Euros. Never.
Oh no, sorry, you're right. Never in Euros. First win. 5 years. That's right.
No, because we won in Russia.
Oh, no.
Keith, this is unlike you. Without your stats, we can't have you. But it was a very good win, and it was the first win in the European Championships of an opening game that England have ever had. But it's very interesting having you two on here, because I just mentioned this to you both, is that you're from individually where our two best players yesterday are from. Nick, of course, is a Leeds boy, and the star of the match, really, Calvin Phillips, was phenomenal. And then Keith, you're from where Raheem Sterling was born, around northwest London, not far from.
Very true.
So
yeah,
Nick,
very true.
So Nick, I mean, you must have been delighted with Calvin Phillips. I mean, he was everywhere yesterday. He was just a revelation, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was sensational. I mean, after the first 10, 15 minutes, I could see he was on it completely. And before the game, I'll be honest, even though being a massive Leeds fan and obviously, so delighted that he was playing, I was still kind of surprised at the selection that he was starting. And I was just praying that he was going to have a good game, because I thought if he didn't have a good game, you might not see him ever again. So thankfully he did, and he was just all over the park. It really was a man of the match performance. I'm not just saying it being obviously biased because he plays for Leeds, but I mean, I don't think he put a foot wrong. I think he did one bad pass for the whole game. And I'll tell you what was interesting, and it was somebody else actually I was chatting to today pointed it out to me, which I didn't really notice it so much during the game. But what he was doing was he was getting in pockets of space.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting in between players, and he kept finding himself in a lot of space. And I think it was because they were putting two players sometimes on Sterling and two players on Foden, and it was allowing an extra man to be free.
It's a great point.
And that, yeah, and basically Phillips got into these positions which normally, a central midfielder probably wouldn't get in those positions. And that, that was the case when he obviously got the ball and put the through ball to the assist to Sterling. But it happened a lot. He was free a lot the whole game. And it was surprising. But when I look back on it, it's true. There were doubling up on certain players like Foden.
Oh, we lost you.
So
There we go. We got you back. Carry on. Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
No, I mean,
I think another call came in.
Oh, that's good. Where has that come from, Nick? I mean, was barely heard of until a year ago. Is that Bielsa just transforming him, and Southgate seeing that?
Yeah, it's interesting because about maybe 3-4 years ago, just kind of before Bielsa came, there was always massive potential for him. Everybody knew he was a good player, but he was just kind of going backwards. He wasn't really getting in the Leeds team. He was just in and out. He didn't look particularly good. A lot of people didn't even like him. They didn't even want him in the team. You know, myself included, didn't think he was that great. I mean, the jury was out on him. I didn't make any, rash decisions on whether I thought he was good enough. I thought he had potential. But as soon as Bielsa came in, he just got the best out of him. He put him in this position, playing very, very kind of deep, just in front of the back four as like a protective, midfielder for the back four, kind of like an anchor man, which made it even more surprising yesterday because he got so far up the pitch and he never gets that far up the pitch for Leeds. I mean, he sprays fantastic balls for Leeds left and right, and his passing is fantastic. But yesterday he got so far up the pitch. But just going back to what you're asking, Bielsa's influence on him has just made him into literally potentially a world-class player. I mean, it's incredible how he's come on, and he's been our best player for the past 2 seasons. He very, very rarely has a bad game. And when he doesn't play, we really, really do miss him. A lot of the games lost is when Phillips hasn't been playing. So for me, yesterday was just a breath of fresh air, him playing that well.
Yeah, no, I mean, Keith, and Nick made a very good point there, which is that which people often forget, is that he said that Sterling, one of the reasons that Phillips was able to perform is Sterling and Foden terrify defenders. But I noticed that Sterling was just fantastic at he just terrifies defenders so much that he creates space off the ball so well. And I think that's what a lot of people have been critical of him in an England shirt don't realise. And it's been something that's not been realised for a very long time, is that Sterling's off the ball work is phenomenal. He's the one that creates so many chances without having the ball, if you know what I mean. And
yes,
that I'm sure you would agree. But he was fantastic yesterday. And has he now silenced the critics?
I really think he has, because he did have an outstanding performance, really. And going back to what Nick said about Phillips, the fact that that Phillips had so much space because of Sterling and Foden threatening so much and having 2 players on them. It was the breath of fresh air to see him being able to go forward a little bit more, not just rely on Declan Rice having to do all the dirty work, so to speak. And with Sterling having that, being up front and terrorising the defence. I mean, a lot of time you have 2 or 3 players on him, and that did, give some of the space to, Phillips and to Foden as well. Yeah,
I mean, I think that he surely now this nonsense has to stop, and he starts. I mean, the annoying thing is that people are saying either Grealish or Sterling, either Grealish or Sterling. It doesn't have to be like that at all. And I think Southgate doesn't think that way at all either. There can certainly be a time where they could both be on the pitch. It doesn't have to be, either or. And I've sort of found that a bit infuriating. So Southgate's tactics, Gary Neville made a really good point yesterday, saying the star of the match yesterday was Gareth Southgate, because while all of us included, were critical of his team selection, on hindsight, you can almost see why it worked. He identified the Croatian weaknesses, and he identified which Croatian players would be best, which English players would be best used to confront, those Croatian players in those individual positions. And he got it right. He got the midfield balance right, because they nullified the most dangerous part of Croatia for most of the game, which was Modric in the midfield. And then as left back, who again we thought was a bizarre choice, Trippier did the job. He had that left side covered, and he had it covered defensively very well. He solidified the back four for England, and then going forward as well. I mean, Nick, you got to hand it to Gareth Southgate.
Yeah, he got his team selection spot on, didn't he? I mean, everybody was like didn't know what to think when he put Trippier at left back. Even I think when we did a pre-show before the game, even we were saying it. Yeah. It was like, why isn't Shaw there? And it was bizarre. But obviously, he knows what he's doing. And ironically, I actually thought, although he wasn't bad defensively, but going forward he was pretty poor, was Walker. He had a lot of passes that go astray. Not Trippier. So yeah, I mean, he got it spot on. He got his tactics spot on, and make no mistakes about it. We weren't great yesterday at all. I mean, far from it. But what we were. It was sometimes it's better to be more a professional outlet. It was like a professional performance. Just dig in and get a result against the runners up of the World Cup, which is what they are. They don't mugs. And people go, oh, well, they're an aging team. Well, it doesn't matter if they're an aging team. Sometimes aging teams are better and more experienced.
Absolutely.
We found it hard yesterday to break in, and they weren't easy to play against, and we got the result. And it's also they're also been a bit of a bogey team, Croatia.
Oh my goodness,
only beaten a couple of times.
They've also never lost. They've also never lost an opening tournament match. That's the first time they've had a defeat inflicted on them. I mean, I think
that's interesting.
I think that's a very good point as well. I mean, Keith, of all the major teams in this tournament, until we get to France, Germany tomorrow, which is going to be epic, of course, England had by far and away the hardest opening game of the favourites. Italy had Turkey. That's not really a. Belgium had Russia. This is a different kettle of fish. So
absolutely. I mean, they're no slouches. I mean, as Nick said, I mean, they were, finalists of the World Cup in 2018. They're very, very experienced. They know how to play football. They weren't really on their game yesterday, so to speak. I think, England did dominate, except for the 50, from 30 to 45 minutes of the first half. I think, we totally controlled the game, to be honest.
I mean, I think go on, sorry.
Sorry, what's very interesting is, you think to yourself, you look at the team yesterday, and there was probably 4 players that you weren't too sure before Southgate's selection were going to play. Trippier in that position for sure. You weren't sure if Calvin Phillips was going to play. You weren't sure if Foden was going to play, and you weren't sure if Sterling was going to play.
Or Mings, or yes. I mean, it's amazing. He really is. I do like the fact that he just doesn't care what the press says. He doesn't care.
It's great.
He just does his own thing, and it's like. What Gary Neville also said is that why are we doubting somebody who has been an international level manager, whether, under 21s, academy, whatever it is, more than he has. I mean, he's probably one of the world's most experienced international managers now. So he knows, and he knows how to get the best out of these games that are maybe few and far between, because England only play sporadically and in major tournaments, and he just seems to be able to identify the opposition well. And I know that while I forget the Croatia manager's name, a very good manager as well, Dlačić or something, he had England's card in 2018. Once that second half began, he outmaneuvered Southgate tactically. Well, yes. Southgate was not going to have that again, and this time he totally got him back, and he got him back in midfield, which is why they were not able to press their advantage in midfield. Nick, who else stood out for you yesterday? I mean, Foden showed glimpses of some brilliance there, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think Foden did well. He looked. I mean, he hit the post, didn't he? I think in the first 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes, he showed some brilliant pieces of skill, and he was all over the place, and he was a real handful. I don't think he had his greatest game, but I think he did well. I think he did enough to warrant even starting the next game. For me, the other person who kind of stood out, and again, completely took me by surprise, because I really didn't agree with him in the starting lineup. But I thought Mings was absolutely excellent yesterday.
Absolutely.
I thought he was superb.
Terrific.
I thought he was really, really menacing, and he never looked like he was going to get beat.
Nope.
Even at times when he looked behind the play. So there was a couple of occasions when he was kind of caught a little bit in terms of speed, but he made up for it. And he was just, I thought he was just immense.
He was a tower.
Yesterday.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he really stood out. I thought Stones was excellent. Again, looked solid. I just thought he really stood out. Obviously, Sterling we've mentioned. I wasn't so enamoured with Kane. I thought he was okay. But again, if you analyse it, if you really look back on it and to his defence, he didn't really have many. There was no real many. I mean, he was playing like a real centre forward, just holding the ball up. There was no real through balls to him. He hardly had any service. He really was kind of feeding off scraps in the middle yesterday.
No.
So maybe it was being a bit harsh. But yeah, for me, it would be definitely Sterling, obviously, and Phillips and Mings were the three players for me which stood out for England yesterday. I thought Rice did okay. He obviously. He cut a lot out. He was a little bit quiet, but he
apparently he was the one. He was constantly telling Phillips, "Go, just go. I've got you. And that's and I think sometimes we don't realise that if we don't necessarily see the player doing something, I think his presence there. Phillips said afterwards, Declan was in my ear constantly saying, "I've got you. Go. Just do what take the chance. Go for it." And I think that's what he was screaming to him just before he passed to Sterling. I think it was Rice who told him to get onto that ball. So I mean, Rice is like a captain. I mean, I've noticed this because I've seen a couple of games now behind closed doors where you literally get to hear the players screaming at each other. I've never heard anything like it. Rice, it's like he's Terry Butcher and Tony Adams in one. Right. He screams from the word go, and that's just his character. And I noticed that Phillips was saying today that he gives him such a secure feeling being behind, and I think would you believe that this could be our sort of midfield linchpin right there? I mean, Keith, what happens if Henderson is fit now? What does Southgate do?
That's a tough thing. I mean, you think to yourself, the fact that you have Rice right in front of the defence and great to see Phillips having the forward run and Rice telling him, saying go forward, do the job. But that's the toughie. You've got to have 100% fit Henderson. You can't have a 95% fit Henderson.
I agree. I agree. And also, the thing is, it's a luxury, isn't it? But we've got somebody like Henderson to come back, and there's going to be more games in this tournament. We'd hope that we qualify for the knockouts, which I'm sure we will. So there's going to be players who may get knocks and injuries, and he may change things around. So it's not like he might not play Henderson. He very well could play. But I think the way it is at the moment, you can't really drop those two players.
No.
And you're also talking about players who are a lot younger than Henderson. Henderson is been injured. He hasn't played that much, and really why he should start above those two is he probably shouldn't. So. But listen, he's there and he's an experienced player, and I'm sure he will get some kind of a run out at some point. It just depends. Maybe if obviously if we win on Friday and we're top of the group or whatever, and maybe he'll play him against the Czech Republic. Who knows? Well, but I think what Southgate will do is he'll just continue to play who he thinks are his strongest team. Yeah. I don't think you're going to start seeing players playing for the sake of it just to make up the numbers. I think he's going to play his strongest team, and it won't. And I don't think he's going to change it. I really don't think he's going to change that starting lineup for Friday night.
Yeah, and go on, Keith.
Sorry, I was going to say the only change I would make is Reece James taking the place of Carl Walker. That would be the only one, I think.
Possibly.
We'll wait and see what happens.
Well,
I think going back to performances yesterday, I think Mason Mount had a good game.
Yes, I thought he was excellent too. I think he's another one. I think he and Foden are going to have their moments where they really stamp their authority, and they may do it against one of the really big teams. I think that might be the sort of thing we're waiting for. They're just outstanding. Reports from the camp today say that Maguire is very close to full fitness, that he's doing very well and it could be fit for Scotland. What does Southgate do about that?
Doesn't play him.
No.
I think he kept it.
Why would you change a winning team? I agree with Keith. You don't change a winning team, especially those two. I mean, the two centre halves didn't put a foot wrong. You wouldn't. Why would you? I mean, I know Maguire was excellent in 2018 and he's been good for England, but why risk him? He's not fully fit. I know he's, like you say, he's on his way back, but you just don't need to change that team unless you've got injuries. I do agree with Keith as well. Funnily enough, I'm not just saying it to agree, but I thought Walker was probably our poorest player, and if you are going to change a player, then either put Trippier back to right back and play Shaw at left back, or bring in. Or Chilwell. I don't think even Chilwell was in the. I don't think he was on the bench yesterday. Chilwell was he?
No, he wasn't.
No.
No,
I was going to say, or play James at like Keith said, play James at right back.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think they still should start the same team as it was, including Walker. But I'm saying if he does silly passes like he did yesterday, then maybe bring in James instead.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, is that, Southgate will put players around his system. He will not put his system around his players. And this is what he believes in. And if he, it's almost like he doesn't necessarily have to say, you're clearly a better player in this position. Like, sure, you are a better left back than Kieran Trippier. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with who is going to be most effective on that day, identifying that opposition team member. Who do I think is going to be the most effective there? And that was what Hodgson and Eriksson and all these managers never got. They didn't identify who was needed where. So they just chucked Lampard and Gerrard in together. They just chucked Rooney and Owen together, just assuming, they're the best players. They're the ones who would have the biggest transfer fee. So I'll stick them in there. But that's just not the way Southgate does it. And that just shows just an absolute outstanding level of tactical management. And it also shows you how the hell did the FA not get better, tacticians in there. I mean, it just, goes to show, but it goes come through the management, the England management system. And, in the same way a little bit that Jurgen Löw did it with Germany. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's absolutely a case to be made that why change anything. Let's have a little bit of fun, shall we, at Scotland's expense, or should we feel sorry for them? We have seen the Scotland game. This is, of course, live, and we have. I see smiles. I see wry smiles. I'm just thinking, which one of you enjoys Scotland's demise, if we want to call that, more? And I'm thinking it's the one at the bottom. It's the Goldster.
I did enjoy it, to be honest. If it was the other way around, they'd be absolutely loving. I think somebody said they love to see the English fail. And, I actually thought Scotland played quite well, and I thought they were unlucky. They should have had a penalty. It was a definite penalty. How they didn't give that for a Scotland penalty was beyond me.
I mean, with VAR, it was so obvious. I do not understand what they're doing with this VAR.
But, I mean, it was just some poor defending at times. I mean, I felt sorry for Liam Cooper, who's obviously a Leeds player, playing for Scotland. But yeah, they were just caught out by two very, very good goals. Poor goalkeeping.
I mean, describe what.
It was just typical Scotland, wasn't it? They had loads of chances.
Absolutely.
Juve were going to lose that game with all the misses they had.
I mean, the goalkeeper will get stick for that from the English forever, won't he? I mean, it's. I mean, what can you say? It's one of those things, isn't it? Scotland always seem to pull out a howler in a tournament. Keith,
they could have played all night, they wouldn't have scored.
No, I know that was the problem, wasn't it? I mean, Keith, how did you see it? And looking forward to England, what do you see as England's attitude to this should be? Should we go for the kill?
If we don't win 2 or 3-0, there's something wrong.
Well, I mean, Nick, you said that as well. I just think, though, that, you've got to be careful. These games are, a wounded animal is a dangerous animal. I know it's
true.
Scotland.
It's a huge worry. Yeah.
It's still a derby. It's still Leeds versus Manchester United, Nicky. And it doesn't always in the old days, it doesn't always go the way. 8 times out of 10, England are probably going to win that. But, they've got absolutely nothing to lose. Mind you, England might feel like they've got nothing to lose in a way because they just want to go out and express themselves.
They the competition, don't they?
That exactly. So, I mean, it is going to be just a huge event for them. Yes, we should beat them convincingly. Everything would point to that. But they have got good players. They were a bit unlucky today, and they weren't good enough today. But maybe they'll put their best hat on for England, and if they play near their best, then they will give us a better game, and meaning we would have to play pretty well.
I mean, will a goalie start?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you don't. Do you take a goalie off for that? I mean, it's like.
I'm just kidding. He made some good saves that today.
Bring Beckham on to when he's off his line, to bring Beckham on for 5 minutes to stick a ball past him, you know.
Or Rooney.
Yeah, Rebecca Rooney.
I think they've got 4 or 5 good players. I think the rest of them are pretty poor. Whereas England have got 11 very good players and another 7 or 8 very good players, you know, in the squad. I don't think there's any comparison unless we have a very, very bad night and things go against us. I really can't see us losing this game or drawing it. I mean, for me, it's a 3 or 4-0. You know, they may score Scotland. I can't see them doing. I can't see anything less than an England win. I really can't. I hope I'm not made to eat humble pie. But I'm telling you, you know,
I don't like hearing this, mate. It worries me.
I know you're very.
I don't like it. No. I mean, like it can affect it, but yeah. I mean, I
don't want to tempt fate, but you know, from what I've seen, and you know, I think the old days of England, you know, potentially could lose this game, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. We'd have to have a very, very poor night. We'd have to play one of our worst performances, and they'd have to play out the skins for us to.
Yeah.
But listen, who knows? Like you say, it's the wounded, the desperate to beat. You know, they'd be happy just to beat England and then go home after that. They wouldn't even be bothered to play the third game. That's all they're bothered about. Their World Cup final is playing us on Friday night, so it is going to be tricky. But I just think that we're going to have too much for them. Would you
like to see them qualify? It's still possible they could, even by beating Croatia, which is also going to be a huge loss for them.
I'd love to see them qualify. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see them. As much as I laugh at it, I would like to see. I like all the home nations to do well. I'd love to see them progress.
Well, how about we draw with them and then thrash the Czech Republic?
No, I'd rather beat them and draw with the Czech Republic. I think we're capable of winning all the games. I think actually the trickiest game will be the Czech Republic.
I agree. They looked. I mean, okay, no matter how poor Scotland were. Keith, what did you make of the Czech Republic?
I thought they were very good. I said all along, you know, earlier before the tournament started, I was kind of concerned about the Czech Republic because they've got some fast players, and very skillful players,
and they beat us. And I was there, and they really did mess around with us. You know, they gave us a real torrid time, and they have Schick.
Technically a very good side.
They are
with some really good quality players in there.
Schick, you know, what do you think of Schick?
It's make up the numbers for Czech Republic, I promise you.
No, absolutely not.
They're expecting at least to get to a quarter-final. I'm telling you that now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Croatia, actually.
I mean, either.
No. I mean, Schick, what a player.
Excellent.
Top goal scorer right now.
Yeah.
Like him and Lukaku.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, but I mean, you know, we're very, very pleased. Do you have a couple of drinks last night? Well, we did, didn't we? Actually, you two of you dissipated gradually, and I might have had a glass of iced water here and there, but it was a lovely day, wasn't it? It was not only that the fans were out, the weather was fantastic. You know, it was just one of those days that. An English summertime day that you dream about, really, wasn't it? I mean, everything was right, except I lost my sunglasses. But I'll gladly sacrifice a pair of sunglasses for a day like that. But
the good thing is, on Friday they're forecasting it to be in the low 70s. That's going to be perfect weather.
Yes, I mean it'll have much more of a British style to it. They'll be able to move around a lot more quickly, won't they? But it was, you know, it was a lovely day, wasn't it, Nick? I mean, just everything seemed to be pitch perfect.
Yeah, it was, and it was. I mean, obviously, we'd have liked a full Wembley, but it was just, in a way, it was kind of nice when we just went into Wembley. It was so easy getting in and out. It was just very, very, you know, laid back. I mean, it was handled excellently. It was, you know, it was the whole, stadium procedures were brilliant. It was really, really well done.
A word actually to the organisers, the Wembley organisers. It was fantastic. I mean, obviously, you're only dealing with 25,000 people, but you still are dealing with 25,000 people after, a year and a half almost of lockdown. And it's very difficult. And, there's a lot of, things that are going to be new to people. But the mood in the crowd was just you could just feel it. It was palpable, the happiness around you. And obviously, the most part of that was due to England. But, that and being sort of set free to go there was great. And you just, there's a lot of you can draw sort of metaphors about yesterday. It's like England have almost now, they play with such a freedom that you haven't seen in tournaments now. They just seem like they're really enjoying it. The post-match interviews, the kids are just smiling. They just don't have that kind of like morose sense that you almost got a lot of the time with the Beckhams and the Rooneys, Lampards, who just seemed always so reserved and didn't want to express themselves. These lads just...
I think now, Gadsby, I think basically we're in a position now with these players whereby if we do something, it's a bonus, and if we don't, we don't. We're not expecting anything anymore. We've gone through all the years of expectation and not done anything.
Do you not think we are expectant now? I mean, surely we should expect something now.
I think we're expecting, a quarter final at least, or a semi-final. But what I'm saying, I don't think there's a massive pressure on them as much as it used to be.
Right. They enjoy it. They enjoy it more, which is what I think.
Yeah, I think it was players in those, for going back to previous tournaments when you had your Gerrards and your Lampards and your Rooneys and etc. I think was expected of them because they were such great players.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite do it for England at times. So I think
badly managed.
I think it's a little bit less pressure.
Less pressure. I think that's true. I think Southgate's responsible for that in things like, having the better relationship with the media and just, making them feel, very, very worthwhile. I mean, he played in Eriksen's teams and, he and other players we know, ex-players we know, were slated Eriksen for his just lack of man management skills, other than to people like Rio Ferdinand and David Beckham, and Southgate is known for literally spending time with his players every day, individually. And
you've also got a manager there who wants to be there, and he's not there for the money. He's not bothered.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
If the FA said, "I'm sorry, we can't pay you for 2 years," would you still stay on? He'd still take the job. He's that kind. He's not interested. He's not there for the money.
No.
Whereas previous managers like Eriksen, like Capello, it was all about the money. It wasn't about anything else.
Yeah.
And he's there. He is there because he wants to be there, and he's bothered.
Right. Yeah.
What's
that T-shirt you've got there, Keith?
Star Wars.
Keep talking, and then you'll be on the screen.
Yep.
Oh, it's brilliant. Hey, Nick. I mean, there you go. You do a bit of Star Wars stuff, don't you? What do you make of that?
Fantastic.
It's good, isn't it?
Very good.
Keith has always got something inventive. I'll have one of those, please, Keith.
That's funny. So going back to Southgate, what you said. I mean, he's he's English through and through, and he just loves being the manager of England. He really does. I mean, yes, he's had his ups and downs, but he's very mature, and he doesn't shy out of anything, does he? No,
I mean, he is the manager of England. I mean, he is like, there's no sort of like mistake in the sense that he belongs there. He is a manager of England now. He is somebody who just seems so right and fits into that part after years and years and years of having square peg managers in round holes, foreign managers who just never really got it. Eriksen just being wanted to ride on the luxurious side of it too much. Capello, no relationship with the players, didn't really want to learn English very well. And Hodgson totally clueless. As nice as a guy as he was.
Lee, I've said to you many times, and that may have said it to you too, Nick. I mean, I've always wanted to have an England manager, an English person as the English manager.
Yeah, they just got the wrong one every time.
Yeah, well, this time hopefully it's the right one. But listen, let's
not
say
jump
too much. What happens in this tournament? There's only one game being played. Anything can happen. We've seen it all before, but we're in good hands.
About a guy. You're right.
The guy who got to the semi-final of the World Cup.
Yeah.
So the guy needs chance.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though. I mean, let me just ask you this. If we win our group, who would you want to play out? If it comes to it, who would you want to play out?
Well, I wanted to ask you both. It's kind of connected, but you've got the game of the. I mean, it could be the game of the tournament, but it's certainly the game of the group stages tomorrow night. The two previous world champions play each other, France and Germany. Answer that question that you've asked. Let's ask Nick first. I mean, who would you want to play? How do you see that game tomorrow?
Well, without question, it's not, to me, it's not even a debate. I would rather play Germany than France. I wouldn't want to play France. I would like to avoid France right up until the final if we have to play.
I mean, you tipped France immediately in Russia, didn't you? Yeah.
I agree.
I would not want to play France at all. Germany, I think we're looking at a much poorer German side. I think, don't get me wrong, there's still a real threat, especially in tournaments. But I think we could definitely beat a German side. I think the French will be very difficult.
So therefore, I'm assuming you Nick, would put your money on France tomorrow against Germany.
If you're asking me the question of between those two, I think, I do think France will win. But it's difficult to call with that one.
It could be a draw, couldn't it?
If you're asking if England would play out the two, I'd rather play Germany any day of the week at the moment.
Keith?
Put it this way.
What is it like? Whether you want to swim, you want to have it in right arm or left arm, Carl? Go on.
I think tomorrow's going to be a draw.
Yes.
I don't know who's going to win their group. I think tomorrow's going to be a bit cagey affair. I think it might be a 1-1 or even a 2-2 draw. I'd like to play Hungary, to be honest.
Of course, we would all like to play Hungary. Hungary at Wembley in the last 16. Well, look, you know what? Hungary are playing Portugal tomorrow afternoon. We'll all be cheering. We'll all be cheering Hungary along. They drew 3-3 with them at Euro 2016.
I really wouldn't want to play Portugal because they got a classy side.
I really would. I just they'll get into our heads. Portugal. They are horrible team to play. But what can you do other than cheer the hell out of Hungary tomorrow? Really, I mean, they're gonna, and it's not impossible.
I don't think that's going to help the cheering of Hungary. I think you'll see a
being at home might though. Being at home might. They'll get a great support in Budapest. I think they'll
be very hungry for it. I'll tell you.
Oh, very good. Hungary won't go starving tomorrow. It's you got Gary Lineker right here. Our very own Gary Lineker doing it. Yeah. No, I mean you can come up with some puns for tomorrow, can't you? I mean, who's going to feed? Who's going to feed Hungary tomorrow? Hopefully, Portugal will be fed to them. Yeah. But look, we run out of time here. We've got to stay in the slot. If you are watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, like, whatever. I don't even know what's down there, but whatever's down there. Oh, don't click the thumbs down. Click everything else, but don't click the thumbs down. Facebook.com/Gadsby's England. Twitter, we are just Gadsby's England, of course. Instagram, Gadsby's England, and Gadsby'sEngland.com. Read Adam Williams' post-match report. It's phenomenal writing again. This guy, while I can keep him, is just a showpiece for how to be a great young sports writer. Do read that match report. Guys, enjoy. I know I've kept you from the Spain game, but I don't think much has happened. It's just 0-0. 0-0. So now that you watched, it'll explode. It's been a poor half, so now it's going to get good. But guys, thanks very much. I'll see you both for Scotland for sure, and enjoy, bask in the weather and the joy of yesterday's victory for a couple more days. And then it's back to business.
Mate. See you, Nick.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. It's late, but it's here. Euro 2020 and 2021, and Gadsby's England is still the place to come for all your England news throughout the tournament. Follow the drama, the ups and the downs. There's going to be plenty of them. Euro 2020 on Gadsby's England.